we have to eliminate essentially what the gatekeepers are, right? So the gatekeepers
Right.
are who says this content can't be on Disney, right? Like that's a gatekeeper. Who says this content can't be on YouTube? Well, it can be on YouTube, except Disney says, hey, you can't put up our content on YouTube. We're not going to do it, right? So you can't view it for free, but you can't do it either. And
Right.
all this is going to do is just drive people to piracy. I mean, once you get set up on a nice piracy site,
Hmm.
there's no need to go back to like Hulu and stuff, right? There's
Which
no
is
need to go
interesting
back to
because
Disney.
streaming was supposed to capture some of those people who were pirating it
Well,
and
it's
torting
all about
stuff.
ease of convenience. Hello and welcome to the Vertical Bar Podcast. I'm your co-host, your name here from Orlando, Florida, and I'll be here as we explore the latest innovations, dissect tech trends, and eventually chat with industry experts.
And I'm Marcus, your other co-host. Together, we're on a mission to explore, share, and demystify the world of technology.
From our company, Vertical Bar Media, to the wider tech universe, we're here to delve into all things digital. But enough about us. What's on the topic list for today, Marcus?
Thanks, Jared. Hey, so this week we have Disney and Amazon and Netflix are the new gatekeepers of media. This was an article that was reported by Variety, and we're going to give our insights on that. We also have Sony announcing the PlayStation Portal for only $199. That was reported by The Verge, so that's an incredibly low price. Next up, after that, we have Apple and Disney potentially merging at some point in the future. This was
Oh
reported
God,
by
please no.
Macworld. Oh my God,
Please,
I know
please no.
it's definitely possible, but it's definitely been talked about in the past, and it seems like rumblings are starting to pop back up again.
Hmm.
And then lastly, we also have the movie the Dune Part Two. It's been delayed until March 2024, so that was reported by Engadget.
Yeah, I got some interesting things to say about that. Basically, the writer's strike there is it's messing up a lot of stuff. I mean,
Yes, it
it's messed up
is.
in and of itself, honestly. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But without forgetting to thank our AI overlords for scripting this intro, let's dive in. So, what's going on with Disney and Amazon and Netflix as being the gatekeepers of the new media?
Yeah, so I do know that the latest strike by the Writers Guild of America is basically stating that because of all of the mergers between large, I guess, tech companies and media companies and film studios and streaming services, that there's been a lot of issues with people getting paid who work in the industry, a lot of issues with um, things being silenced, things just not happening the normal way they're supposed to. There's been a lot of corporate, I guess, a lot of corporate. Okay, we're gonna have to record that. I'm sorry, I completely fucked that up. Um, let's redo that. Sorry.
No problem. So you want to restart? What's the issue with the Disney and Amazon and Netflix are the gatekeepers of the new media?
Yeah, so I know with the recent strikes going on in Hollywood with the Writers Guild of America, it seems like that a lot of the writers and a lot of the people that work in the film industry feel like that a lot of these mergers that's been happening lately, like Disney and Fox, things like that, HBO and Discovery, when things like that happen, there's a lot of antitrust issues going on. So they feel like there's a lot of corporations out there that become too big and then basically trample on the creative process for how the films are supposed to get made and then released. So we have a lot of people who work in that industry that just don't like how things have been shaped recently. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I mean, this is wild. Dan's actually has a little bit more experience in doing
Dan,
guild
cool.
in doing guild work, so I picked his brain a little bit about
Awesome.
this, and it's kind of wild because what
Whole
kind of
thing about like
prompted
writers not getting paid.
well, so what prompted all this, right, is the Screenwriters Guild was coming up on contract terms, right, and studios want to negotiate that essentially essentially they want to be able to use writers' work as like a starting point and then not pay them afterwards for it, right?
Gotcha.
And why the Screen Actors Guild joined, the SAG joined the strike is because the studios also wanted to renegotiate that if somebody would come in to do like extra work, they could like make a
Uh-huh.
3D model of them and just use them forever, in perpetuity. Use their likeness as a digital representation. So
Gotcha.
this is kind of getting into some wild territory on like how much control these companies actually do have over the content creation process. And when we think about this, we
Right.
have like essentially, a dozen or so channels. We got Disney, we got Amazon Prime, we got Netflix, we got a ton of other ones, Hulu, HBO Max, HBO, whatever the other plus one is. There's like lower tiers of
Exactly.
each one of these channels, and they strictly control the content on these channels, 100%. There is no like the YouTube, right? The YouTube, even they kind of control some of the content that goes onto it, but not to the
Right.
extent that like Disney and Amazon control their streams. Like
Right.
with we were just watching the Man Show on the way over here, and like one of the things that Disney's doing is they're just deleting old content off of their servers right now, and they're writing it off as like a loss. They're saying, oh, this doesn't produce views or whatever, to the tune of $1.5 billion that they're
That's
just writing
insane.
off as losses. And what they have to do to in order to write off these losses is essentially delete this content forever. So that's all the work that all the
Right.
writers, all the actors, all the food service people that have been like feeding these actors and the camera operators, they're just all the work that they've ever done for this company is just literally just got deleted, and just like, hey, whatever, we paid you for it, so it's ours and we can do whatever we want with it.
That's crazy. So I do know that this also happened with HBO and Westworld. I do know that Westworld was canceled after season 4, and I do know that HBO also took Westworld off of HBO Max at the time in order to stop themselves from having to, I guess, pay the creators and the creative process and the people that were involved with it their fair share of residuals for the streaming rights. So like
Yeah, and it's wild to me
Westworld,
because at the same time, I don't necessarily see as every single actor in the film. I don't even think that any actor in a film necessarily deserves residual rights in perpetuity. But I also don't think that the companies deserve to continually make money off of this if they're not if the people that are part of it aren't making money off of it too, right? Like
exactly, right.
if I make a video and then we put it on together, and then some years later I'm still making money off of it, but I cut you guys out of the checks, like that's fucked up. And that's exactly what they're doing for these companies, for these writers, what they're doing for the actors. They're just cutting them out of the process entirely and say, hey, everything that you've done to make this product is great, but get out of our face and stop
Right,
asking for
exactly.
money.
Well, yeah, it's definitely weird that like they hype some of these projects up, they hype some of these shows, some of these films up, and then they just disappear and no one hears from them again. It just seems like
Well,
an odd thing to do for a streaming service. So like, is there a way that some of these showrunners or creators or possibly um future owners of some of these projects can they stream these projects somewhere else? Like,
yeah, I
um,
mean they could stream it on YouTube and do their own viral marketing, and all that's completely available to them if
okay,
they actually own the rights to the content that they're producing.
that's what I was
But
gonna ask.
if
Right,
if it's already gotten to the point where if somebody's looking at producing it, like you need to have those rights tied up with a nice little bow on them and have your name on
yeah,
it, kind of stuff, because that stuff so quickly just gets taken out of your hands and you can't do anything about it. Like all they have
which
to
is
do is change
insane.
the character's first name, and like they can
Right.
keep the last name, as long as it's like 10% different or something like that. And then they
And
have an
it's
army of lawyers to argue beyond that. So like you're just screwed either way. I think the only saving grace here is some kind of decentralized video on demand service, like what essentially what the
interesting.
airwaves used to be, right? Like you used to purchase a channel on the web and stream your content, or
Mhm.
on the airwaves, and you used to be able to stream your content from it. Broadcast became 24 hours, and they're just
Sort of like
nonstop.
OnlyFans, right?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like that's kind of what it turns into. But now we we have to eliminate essentially what the gatekeepers are, right? So the gatekeepers
Right.
are who says this content can't be on Disney, right? Like that's a gatekeeper. Who says this content can't be on YouTube? Well, it can be on YouTube, except Disney says, hey, you can't put up our content on YouTube. We're not going to do it, right? So you can't view it for free, but you can't do it either. And
Right.
all this is going to do is just drive people to piracy. I mean, once you get set up on a nice piracy site,
Hmm.
there's no need to go back to like Hulu and stuff, right? There's
Which
no
is
need to go
interesting
back to
because
Disney.
streaming was supposed to capture some of those people who were pirating it
Well,
and
it's
torrenting
all about
stuff.
easy convenience. Netflix
Right, of course.
nailed the hit the nail on the head, right? They wanted to stream every single type of content. And then
Right.
everybody else got greedy. Disney said, "Oh no, we're gonna make our own streaming service. We don't want Disney shows to be next to like horror flicks in the feed or whatever, right? Because
Right, exactly.
that's something legitimately that they want to control. But as they start building all these walled gardens, it's gonna limit our choices. And like exactly what's gonna happen with this strike, like the strikers maybe are gonna get something from this, they're gonna get better benefits, whatever, but these production houses are just going to say, hey, this is more expensive. Like, let's just use AI to do some of the asset generation, not pay as many artists. Let's do AI to do the content writing for some of this, and let's not pay as many
Mhm.
writers. And then at the same time, these are going to be projects that they're going to are less willing to risk on because they're cheaper, right? They paid 20% less in labor costs. Well, that value is
Right.
20 that movie is now 20% less valuable. And
Well,
so it's
yeah,
this
because
game of cat and mouse because like they have to have the credits a mile long to be able to pay for $100,000 or $100 million movie, but they don't want to pay every single one of the person in credits.
right, and I'm guessing like is this credit based off what they were getting paid before? Like, have people basically like stopped getting paid for the same amount of work, or has the corporation found a way to essentially make, I guess, something new that hasn't been priced yet or priced right somehow more affordable? Does that make sense?
I mean, it's a multifaceted issue.
Hmm.
We're taking into consideration of inflation, home value increasing,
Right.
community price
AI, like new
increasements.
technology. Yeah.
Yeah, the technology fees, like, oh my God, you got to have $1,000 laptop to be able to do anything
Right.
in these businesses. It needs to be a MacBook because it needs to communicate with your phone seamlessly, right?
Hell yeah.
And like, that's a premium that's added up for every single one of these writers, and that,
Right.
ultimately comes into the $100 million price tag of a movie, and where it has to be a box office bomb to actually pay for itself. And it's just like a self-perpetuating cycle. The larger problem with it is the speculation, right? Like people bet on whether or not the movie is going to be good, right? Whether or not I spend $100 million on it and it's going to make me $300 million. That's
Right.
the calculus that goes into whether or not a movie makes it to a theater or a streaming service, right? Like, hey, if I only spend $10 million on every episode, we put it up on HBO Max, boom, we got 7 years of Game of Thrones content that's like generating views, wild amount of views for HBO.
Well, this is
But
it's happening at a. I'm sorry. You
no,
can
I
go
mean,
ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say it's happening at an interesting time because you have all of these box office bombs that have been happening in the industry. It almost seems like no movies as of late have been profitable other than Barbie and Oppenheimer, and it's just like all of
Well,
these
see,
movies
that's
that are supposed to be huge blockbusters are now bombing back to back to back, and it's been happening for the past couple of years. So it's like
Well,
now at this
it's
time where these.
absolutely crazy because the whole speculative nature of Hollywood in and of itself, right? These movies were produced 3 years ago. Some of them were even
Right.
like filmed 5 years ago, right? Like how far ago did they actually film Oppenheimer?
And
Right?
then
They would
COVID
have done it
also
within the last
was
3 years, and they had to make that bet 3 years ago that when it came out on this date that it was going to be a bomb. And like
profitable, right?
you know, that's what the whole game of Hollywood is. And ultimately they just want to pay less money to produce more content, and I don't think that's going to work out for them.
So this topic ties into our third topic, and I'm going to go ahead and skip number two and come back to that. But the third topic we have is Apple and Disney are possibly in talks for merging, and that would create another media giant with a vast amount of content and strong presence in streaming. We know Apple has launched Apple TV as of late over the past couple of years. It's been pretty successful. I know it started, I believe, at four ninety nine, and I think now it costs either 5.99 or 6.99. So prices have gone up a little bit, but the reviews for their shows are always in the positive. So I know this is something that was considered a long time ago. I know that Apple used to own Pixar, I believe, and Steve Jobs has had a close relationship with Bob Iger, who is the current CEO of Disney. And apparently, rumors died down over the past couple of years, but now that Disney's in trouble with their box office issues and their low numbers for some of their parks, it seems like people are expecting Apple to basically bail them out. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean that's wild. Honestly,
Yeah, it is.
I haven't heard much of that, but
That's a lot of property.
yeah,
That's a lot of control.
I don't see that anybody would allow that merger to take place.
Gotcha.
That's absolutely wild. Like vertical
Yeah, no, it
integration.
it definitely is.
Well, I mean,
So
honestly, like so Disney, yeah, it has the theme parks, but it is mostly a content creation company, right? Like they don't
right.
have. Well, that's actually really interesting because Disney Designs and Disney like Imagineers,
Hmm.
they actually do have like quite a workforce dedicated to um just like animatronics and like just wild stunts. And I mean, I don't know if you've been to
Yeah,
Disneyland and like the stuff that they
I
actually
haven't since
do
I
in
was
the
a kid.
parks. It's like it's absolutely engaging, and it's just a whole nother world. And there's a lot that goes into it. Like those theme parks, they have entire cities and uh, entire communities surrounding those parks that support those facilities, right? Like
Yeah,
there's
they do. You're right. Exactly. It's almost like the college
I don't
towns.
understand what Apple would even want with the Disney merger. Like that just doesn't make sense. They would essentially be buying content at that point.
Well, it
Um,
would it would clearly
but
be for Disney Plus and those properties. Apple TV would be able to merge Disney Plus into Apple TV Plus, and then they'd be able to price it, or they'd be able to market it with all of their products, their Apple hardware products, their iPhones, iPads, stuff like that. I know when Apple TV Plus first came out, it was basically free for a year as long as you bought a new Apple product. So I think that
yeah, I actually have
um
on that. I think I have a 3 month deal now on
oh
that.
hell yeah, awesome. Yeah, and I do know that I guess they used to own Pixar, which is something that I think I knew about, but I didn't really technically wait, did they own Pixar, or did Steve Jobs
There
just have a
there's a
relationship?
there is a channel on Disney that's just Pixar stuff.
Gotcha. I
So
know
I'm pretty
Disney
sure
currently owns
because they
Pixar,
also
but
own
I
like National Geographic too, and there's like a
right.
Nat Geo channel
And then Apple
on
would get all
Disney
that stuff
Plus.
too. Apple would get Marvel, Star Wars. I know Apple pretty much have an unlimited amount of funds right now, but I do know Disney is seeing numbers low for their films. I mean, after you have something like Avengers, and I think there is a new Avengers movie coming up in 2025 and 2026, but after you had Endgame that made $3.5 billion, Infinity War, I think, made a couple of $1 billion, and you had all those $1 billion films from them for like 3, 4 years straight, and now they can't get close to $1 billion at all. All of their movies are bombing, and I think that like people expected them to be thriving at this time, and then all of a sudden they're going in the opposite direction. And luckily they have Star Wars. I don't know how they're going to be able to do those films successfully after what happened with the Rise of Skywalker. I don't think they really have the fan support for the film, so I don't know if relying on Star Wars is a good idea right now. And I'm not sure if that's going to work for them. So I think like without Star Wars and Marvel being profitable, like they have to do something. And I think they've already upped Disney Plus pricing for subscribers, I think twice already. So like they can only do it again so many times before people to start turning to other subscription services. So I think that's why the question is being raised now, and people are sort of speculating that it's kind of a possibility
Yeah.
because Disney's
Well,
getting fucked right
I
now.
think some of the
They're getting
crazy
fucked.
parts about it is streaming actually, like, it requires a certain amount of users to be profitable, right? And
Right,
then after
exactly.
that, like, it's not, you're getting diminishing returns, right? After that, like,
Right.
you're serving more content to people, but you're not necessarily getting that same return back as the first like 100,000 or first million
Right. So you have to up the
viewers.
price essentially. Right.
Well, no, actually, that just makes it so that like you can up the price, right? Because price is always related to supply and demand, right?
Right.
So Disney is controlling the supply of content. People have somewhat of a demand for it, but demand doesn't have to be very high on streaming platforms. This is why the whole concept of like mobile gaming works, right? You can have free to play games where like 10% of the population of the gamers spends hundreds of dollars on it and
Right. Exactly.
essentially
Perfect world.
subsidizes the rest of the content for everybody else.
Exactly. Right. Now I've played a couple of free to play MMORPGs, and I definitely understand.
Yeah.
Um, no, it's
And
just it's
I hope that's not the way that this kind of stuff goes. Like I hope that it's just not like I wonder how we can get back to people pay for content that they want to see, but also there is a wide variety of free content to access. Right? Because I mean, the
of
problem kind of
course.
comes down to is like, okay, yeah, yeah, Disney and Apple Plus merge, right? Okay, so the Apple Disney Plus combo package goes up to $15, right? Well, we still have an Amazon Prime, still have Netflix, still have Hulu, still have HBO Max, still have some other ones. Like, hey,
Max
maybe
now.
you want to listen
Sorry.
to music, maybe you want Spotify, right? Like, oh
Right.
my God, you're gonna need another thing. Oh, maybe you want to stop watching ads on YouTube, so you need another subscription for that. And like, man, that's fatiguing, and that's why numbers are going down for these companies. And they don't know why. They're like, oh, I don't know why the numbers go down, but the numbers go down because they're restricting content, they're raising prices, and driving people towards just pirating the content.
But I guess what else? So if people aren't going to the movies, right? And that's basically been shown. I mean, yeah, Barbie and Oppenheimer, but yeah, like in the past like 6 months, what other movie was profitable? I don't think any. So like if people aren't going to the movies and they're also not, I guess, paying their fair share in the streaming, because I mean, paying $15 a month to watch an unlimited amount of content basically is obviously not the actual price of what you're watching. Like these companies have to find the money somewhere. So I don't think it's like okay, so like I think for Netflix it took them what almost like 10 years to basically double the amount of the subscription price, and I think Disney has done that already. I think in only 4 years.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's like Disney is just raising their prices a lot faster than Netflix. Some of these other streaming platforms have also been raising their prices.
Well,
And then
I'm thinking that
HBO
this
had
is
to merge with fucking Discovery just to be able to save them from getting fucked. I mean, they went through a bunch of cuts and they even canceled Westworld and they canceled a lot of other shows. Um, and it just seems like that like they only launched HBO Max in 2021. Why 2 years later are they already merging with somebody else just to save their ass? It seems like there's a problem going on.
well, I think that's fundamentally what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the ramifications
Yeah.
of the first strike in 2008.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I mean,
And that was over
there was a
Netflix also,
significant,
wasn't it?
yeah. So that was the kind of the time around when Batman came out, right? And like that was kind of the hype
The Dark
like
Knight.
back
Yeah,
then, right? You
exactly.
know, the Dark Knight Returns or the Dark Knight, like those are where I look back and I think, oh man, like that was really good content. And then we kind of think about this
Right.
delay, right? Like that content was actually probably made in 2005, right? So we're seeing all the content from 2008 to like maybe 2015 was affected by the strikes, right? And
Right.
then we're starting to see the content come back. It came back in the first couple Avengers films and Iron Man, and
Right.
we kind of see like what 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 could be done with good writing, with good filmmaking, with good direction, things like this. And then it just kind of, I don't know if Hollywood just kind of lost their pace or if the writers and the actors were getting replaced and they just weren't as good or something. But we definitely see like a sharp fall off of content around 2015, where it's just like we're kind of getting into this fatigue. And then in 2018, when COVID struck, it's just like that's when you could really see all the stuff from previous years that just didn't hold up. Like the content just wasn't put together well. Like it was rushed. It
Really?
just I think so,
I
yeah.
Yeah, well, I do know, like, I know for me, I was definitely getting, like, I just getting older, going from 20s to 30s, I'm definitely noticing stuff a lot more. So I know, like, if I go back and watch things from before, certain movies I won't like before, now that I'm older and I'm getting more, I guess, more aware of like what I'm seeing. And I just, I don't necessarily think that quality has gone down. I just think there's too much stuff being released. I mean, you have the film industry that's still releasing the same amount of films. Then you have all these different streaming services that have also popped up. Now you have films on the streaming services. It just seems like there's a lot that people can't they can't unify on anything because everyone's just so spread out, right?
Yeah.
Like
And I think it
back
leads
then
into
all
this
we had was
fatigue,
Netflix and Hulu.
right? Like it leads into this
Yeah,
fatigue. Like we had
exactly.
Stranger
Yeah,
Things, like that was cool, right? We had the beginnings of
right.
Walking Dead.
You
But
had
then
House of
after like 10
Cards.
seasons of Walking Dead, like oh my God. It's like what were we talking about Dan earlier? Like, oh, when did you stop watching Walking Dead?
Yeah, I think mine was season 6. Mine was when Negan showed up. You know why I started watching The Walking Dead is because they fucking waited for an entire season and let us sit there over the summer before we realized who Negan killed. And that pissed me off so bad that I watched the very next episode just to see that it was Glenn and I think Abraham. And then I literally never went back. I was so pissed that I had to wait all those months. That's why I stopped watching. But I do want to go back and finish it. It's just I just like it's hard for me.
Well,
I
see, that's
do
the thing.
know.
You better go do it now because, hey, guess what? Disney just deleted $1.5 billion off of their content catalog. And like,
That's insane.
is that ever going to come back? I don't know. Who knows?
There
We'll never
has
know.
to be some new there has to be some place that will buy those rights. Like
It
there
doesn't
has to be
matter. It doesn't
some
matter because, I mean, after some time, then maybe they can sell those rights, like, the cult classics kind of stuff, right? But man,
I
like,
was gonna
that's
say
just,
there was actually an article I read. I forgot who it was by. I think it was through my Artifact app on my Android phone, where someone said that Disney might have to go back to basically selling their content to other streaming services as well as having Disney Plus, and that might be the only way that they can, I guess, temporarily or maybe permanently get some of this money back because they are. I see there's something, man. I don't know what it is, but you have billions of dollars that's expected like that, and then for years and years you have losses. First off, I don't think some of these companies are really as financially stable as they claim they are. I remember whenever COVID first happened, you had a couple of companies who said they were stable that went out in like a month or two, and all of a sudden they're fucking bankrupt, right? So I think
yeah.
that like that's sort of happening again, and that I don't know if they have another year or two. Like there's have we talked about Dune yet? No, we haven't.
No.
Like I guess we can do that one next. Fuck it.
Yeah,
Let's just
let's
go into it.
segue into Dune.
Yeah. So like Dune got delayed until March of 2024. That was reported by Engadget and a lot of other places. But essentially what's going on is that Well, here's my take on it. So Dune was successful on HBO Max. It was a really good film, the first part. It was released, I think, in what, 2020 or 2021? I know it was delayed a year, but essentially it came out on Max and also came out in the theaters the same day because Warner Brothers had made that deal with HBO where they would simultaneously release their films online and in person, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to really know how successful Dune was as a film because you don't really have accurate box office results, and like streaming services don't tell you how many people are watching movies or TV shows. So like I guess due to the issue that Warner Brothers has been having with a lot of their movies lately in the DCU universe. I know they had Barbie, but that's like the only one they've had that's successful. They can't
I can't
risk
wait for a
Dune,
Barbie Batman crossover.
right? They basically can't wait for Dune. They basically can't afford for Dune to be unsuccessful. Dune is their huge moneymaker in the film. They lost Christopher Nolan, so they
I
delayed
mean,
it to March
you
of
don't
2024 until
you
the
don't
strikes
think
get
that
over.
delay is a direct result of the strike that's going on right now during
Of
production?
course, of course, of course. But it's not just the strike, though. It's not just the strike, because a lot of other films were bombing at the box office before the strike happened. So it's a combination of the strike and that basically if Dune isn't profitable, they won't make the third one, right? There won't be any more Dune films, and they need that money. It
See,
was yeah. So
that's the worst part is that these companies have to bank so much on these projects when like,
right,
hey man, like, ah, man, like I don't even know. And like this topic wasn't in here, but Dan sent me this one. Is Sony
yeah,
is
of course.
testing a real-time cameraless production.
Oh yeah, he sent me that too, which is insane. Because like I want to be like, fuck yeah, technology. This is awesome. We get to do new stuff. But like right in the middle, excuse me, of this strike, I'm like, well, fuck. There's also people on the other side who potentially are facing like being let go because like it's just it's hard to understand where I fall on this because again, I want technology to advance, but like I don't know how far of this process is that okay, people are possibly being let go who just can't adapt to the new way, right? Like
I mean, honestly, with the
I
pace of changes, like we need to fundamentally rethink how everything works.
gotcha.
Like,
But like, does that mean where these places can't at least test it? Like when if Sony if this was a big story and Sony, you said it was Sony, right?
yeah.
Okay, good. So like if Sony is testing out and they do want to make this film just to see how it goes, like should we be I don't think we should be able to stop them from doing that. I think that there's definitely data and analytics that they can gather from at least trying to pursue it to see how it works. What if it's better?
I mean, so this is not necessarily something that I see as eating away jobs,
Okay.
because so what this is a real-time camera-less production. So this means that essentially they are capturing data in real time without digital cameras, without analog cameras, without actually like digitally seeing the scene. What they're doing
Was
is
it
they're
based on
using
sound? How did they get it?
um, I mean, it's kind of hard to talk, but it's kind of hard to like talk about what they're actually doing. But
Gotcha.
I assume it's a combination of millimeter wave, infrared, and
Cool.
some other types of tracking.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool. That's awesome.
yeah. So essentially, what it is like it's kind of like a HoloLens, right? Or like the virtual reality
You know what?
stuff that like
Cool.
sees through the headset. It's just recreating the world around it,
Which is fucking awesome. Oh my God.
right?
It's just awesome to understand that like we can be seen by something that's not like an eyeball or a camera. Like there are other ways to literally get like details of our surroundings without
Yeah, so
anyone ever
I
looking.
think
Like
somebody
that's
was trying.
insane to even think
I
about.
was trying to explain to somebody what remote ID is, and for those that are unaware, the FAA has a mandate coming out, the Federal Aviation Administration, that all drones that are operated within essentially America um,
Mhm.
need to broadcast a remote ID signal. And the remote ID signal contains pilot information, it contains drone information, telemetry data, position, all the kind of necessary stuff that like radar tracking would essentially provide for a drone, right? Um, so what that is actually like what it actually is a lot of people are asking, okay, well, what is it? Is it Wi-Fi? Is it like transmitting over cellular signals? Like, what is it? And it's like, no, it's kind of like a flashlight, right? It's only a flashlight though, in the sense that it's transmitting like electromagnetic frequencies. And it's literally just broadcasting on a certain band your information, and whoever is in the vicinity of that can pick up that information. It'd be like if you had an ID card that was just constantly transmitting, "Hi, I'm Jared Janser, this is my birthday, and this is that," right? That's essentially what the drone is doing
Whoa.
now, and like it's so weird because the FAA wants the FAA needs to have this data because there are millions of drones operating in airspace near airplanes, near sensitive military sites and all this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And
All of a
like,
sudden, one of them could drop a bomb. Fuck.
well, there's even videos as far back as 2010 that's like security conferences. And
hmm
like it's just like some guys talking up on a stage and it's like, oh, new threats this year, drones. And then what happens? A drone flies in and then just like explodes in the building. And like it was part of the presentation. It was just like spewing white powder everywhere. But like it was just absolutely insane. It's like, oh, people are just gonna sit in an auditorium and like watch this drone fly in over their head. And it could literally be a bomb. Like, and
Exactly.
that one did go off on purpose to show people how real that security threat is and
But
like
no one
how
fucking
cheap
died,
that was able to
right?
do. Like
No, I'm
people
joking.
could buy the parts for drones for under $100, and like it's wild. Well, the stuff that they're doing in Ukraine with drones, I'm pretty sure constitute war crimes. And like
Well, I'm
those
glad people
are
are thinking
cheap.
about that shit.
Those are cheap.
Yeah, and it's like they've been readily available for a long time now, and I totally support people being able to access them. But it's good to know that there is a plan that's being, I guess, developed to make sure that they can't be used, I guess, to kill us. So, well, I guess not all the time, I guess, So
Yeah,
that's really cool.
yeah, it's thin, but I mean that's the kind of
It's
thing
something.
like, well, that's the kind of thing like our up until 2001 our entire aviation system relied on the trust of pilots, right?
You,
Like pretty much every linkage in the system up to then was whether or not the pilot thought that they were okay to fly or like wanted to do something, right? Like, yeah, that's a really thin barrier. Like that's literally the thinnest barrier. Like that's not gonna stop anybody that wants to do damage. And it's obvious, right?
well, hopefully, yeah,
2001, September 11th. Um,
right, exactly.
like that, and that's literally what it all hinged on was like the door being unlocked.
Well, hopefully, a better plan develops later on for this. Maybe it's just a start. I don't really know how aviation works that well. That's all your thing. So again, I'm just glad someone's thinking about it.
Yeah.
Hey, I guess while we're let's go ahead and talk about how our fucking business has been going, or I guess our project, excuse me.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
a business yet, but it's becoming one.
Yeah, so you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I will talk about social media. We just made a TikTok this past week, which is fucking awesome. I'm not really that familiar with TikTok, but I'm excited to get on there and explore how the community works, how to engage with the audience, how to engage with users, and then make our profile accordingly. I know that I haven't really been using a video marketing that much on other platforms. I did make one video for a Verizon article that I made, and I made like a little like 7-second video, and that was my reel on Instagram. So I know TikTok is very video based, and I know it's kind of based off the reels and stories from the Meta social media project. So I'm just excited to get in there and then do another profile. Why don't you tell them the reason why we're exploring TikTok? What's happening with you and your new project?
So this is kind of a new old slash new project.
Okay.
For I don't even know if you're aware of this, but for as long as we've known each other, my wife has been doing online retail. And
I
essentially
did
what
not
this
know that.
involves is we go to like outlet stores or wherever, look for good deals and sell them online. Our
Awesome.
major market is in China. However, China is a very interesting market to be in, and we'd like to expand
You're in
our
China?
horizons. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So I'm actually pretty popular in China, apparently.
That's awesome.
So we're trying to figure out how to turn more content onto us. A large
Okay.
portion of her content right now is literally just selling stuff. She does like 5 or 6 live sessions a week selling items at different
Cool.
stores like Coach, Michael Kors, North Face, like all this kind of
Hell
stuff.
yeah.
Um, so that's pretty exciting. That's something that we'd like to explore here in the United States. There are quite a significant amount of business opportunities around it, um, because people do this kind of business from Brazil, Argentina, Chile. They do this, all over Europe and Africa. All people are
Hell
coming
yeah.
here like to go to different stores. Like people come to Orlando, Florida to go to Disney World and then go to shop at Armani and fill up their suitcases with Armani stuff and take it home and sell it. Like that is their
Bro,
entire livelihood, and they'll just spend like a week in Disney World and shopping.
that's awesome. Maybe we can do
Yes.
that with computer products. Like just I don't know
Well,
what
there is
you
a lot
and
of opportunity for it, but I do want to explore the live selling stuff. Right now, I don't want to talk too much about this, but
all right, yeah.
there's not a platform that recognizes that does this kind of thing, right? Right? Like think about like a QVC online. Like there's not really something like that. Um,
Cool.
at least something that can deal with the type of traffic that is accessible online, right?
Right.
Like having 20,000 concurrent viewers that are actually able to purchase and interact with your goods is is absolutely wild.
Yeah.
The potential for that is absolutely wild too. So I want to explore that, but we do need to build a following first.
Right. No, of course. So I guess you were saying that. So how does this tie into your new project when it comes to the YouTube channel? You said that you and your wife were possibly going to be doing some video
Yeah,
projects as
so
well. Excuse me. Sorry.
the idea is that we'll be doing more lifestyle videos on for me and my wife and our son and all that. We'll be
Oh,
doing lifestyle videos and she'll be dubbing those into Chinese. And essentially we'll have
cool.
free access to be able to do with those videos here on the US side with whatever we want to do. So it's going to be quite an exploration. I mean, we still want to explore all the other content, the podcast, the video game stuff.
Of course.
Me and Dan are working on X-Men versus the Flash, which is really
Hell
cool.
yeah.
So we want to get into some movie and TV analysis as well. And it's all about that diversification, just planning out more content streams. All right, so yeah, so we were exploring my content there, and oh yeah, and let's give a little update on YouTube, where we are with that. So I'm
Yes.
just gonna go through the dashboard right quick. We
Okay.
have 53 current subscribers.
Woo.
We have 2,000 views and 119 hours of watch time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's yes.
Yeah, it's actually really incredible. It's pretty interesting too, looking at how the content is actually being interacted with.
Good.
I noticed you started promoting some of our back catalog of the podcasts, and those have actually started getting some views.
Okay, good.
Um, our
Awesome.
first podcast now has 62 views, so that's great.
Fuck yeah. I thought
Yeah,
one of our podcasts had like a couple of hundred. Didn't one of them
no,
get up there?
no.
Oh, well,
Our
fuck
first,
those
our first
motherfuckers.
Well, okay, I'll tell you what happened here. Our first podcast is autoplayed on our Vertical Bar Media channel. So anytime anybody goes to the channel, that episode plays, and that actually counts for a view. But it kind of counts against us because if they don't watch it, then it's like a 5-second view or something,
Well, that's awesome. Well,
which is hilarious.
Google
But
is helping us out a little bit,
in comparison to our homeworld videos, our one video is approaching 1,000 views.
That's
That one has
awesome.
8 comments and
Really?
30
Fuck
likes.
yeah.
So it's getting up there.
I'm
People
gonna end up
actually
playing that
are
game
into
with
it.
you, seriously.
It's a fun game. I highly recommend Homeworld Mobile. Join us on Discord.
Oh, speaking of Discord, I do have to get the channel a bit running. I think I made the account, but I haven't put any effort into it just yet. So
Yeah.
I kind of got lost this week with all the Instagram graphics. I do want to go over Facebook. I know on Facebook all of our numbers are going up.
Let
sorry.
me break that up for you actually. Let me find out where it is. Okay, so external viewers, 17.8% come from Facebook. 29% come from a Google search.
Really?
Yeah, 9%
awesome.
come from YouTube, and about 5% come from Discord, and another 4.1% come from Twitter. These are for our Homeworld mobile videos.
That's
looks
awesome.
like
I didn't know that. I didn't know that they could track it like that, but I guess that's where all that shared data came into place. Awesome.
Oh
That's
yeah,
cool.
no, the whole there's a whole thing. I can look at audience. Best view times are 11 a.m. Many of your viewers are on YouTube. So this kind of gets us an idea of how we can get into scheduling content better. On what days we can actually schedule it. It's kind of starts getting wild. And so some of the things that I've been working on this week that I really, really want to explore is how to up the content creation. I've already worked on, I think, 3 or 4 episodes of this gaming stuff. But I really want to look into how to create more short form content for it. I really just want to do like I'm still trying to figure out the process of how I would capture this, but like I spend a lot of time in the game chat. People ask the same questions all the time, and like I want to do like just simple like common questions or like common facts or facts, homeworld facts, right? And then just every Friday put out like a 30-second homeworld fact on posted on YouTube, but also do that same video across TikTok and Instagram and all that other stuff.
Yeah, that will be awesome. I think the more content that we have on the page, whether it's shorter or long, I do think the shorter content would be good for just keeping the numbers up, keeping our name out, keep us in the rotation of showing up on people in searches and in feeds and things like that. So I definitely support that.
Great.
Fuck yeah. And I know we have some keyboard shortcut content coming up soon. I'll be writing the articles for it. And I think you'll be doing some of the shorter videos displaying how useful some of these keyboard shortcuts can be for productivity, excuse me. I know there's a lot of people out there who use like copy and paste, but they don't get further than that. And I think there's a lot of people out there who use computers that don't know all of the like really cool things you can do with like Windows and like minimizing and maximizing and like changing desktops and all this stuff. And I think it would be good for us to explore that. So yeah. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I really do want to get on that content too, and how we can, move forward with that. That's still kind of stagnated. Have we finished those descriptions for the show reels or for the demo reels? Yeah.
Oh, so I did the drone video and I also did LRN002. Those 2 should be done.
Okay. Yeah, I think LRN02 got published already.
Oh, it did? I didn't know that. Sorry. Well, I will.
No, never mind. It's unlisted. So we need to schedule. I put the title and description in here. Yeah. So I got the description and title in there. We just have to schedule a date for it to go live.
Okay, great. So we'll talk about that tomorrow, obviously, during our meeting.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
All right. So the last topic on our list
Wait, I
is.
haven't gone over Facebook and LinkedIn numbers
Oh,
yet.
okay, yeah. Let's get
You
some of those
bastard.
numbers. Sorry, more company
Okay.
stuff.
So all numbers are going up. We officially crossed 1,000 accounts that we reached on Facebook, and we are now at a level 2 for our professional Vertical Bar Media account. So I guess out of the last 28
Level
days,
2 out of how many levels?
I don't know yet, but it took me a minute to get past level 1 because it kept saying that I had to comment on our post, and I had already done that, but it finally caught up to me. Anyways, it gives you all these tips and guides on how to expand your followers. So I think we're at 56 followers on Facebook. We're at
Nice.
70. We're at 75 on LinkedIn, and on Twitter we're over 120 followers.
Wow.
And then on Threads
Who
we
on Twitter will
have
follow
63.
anything?
I know, dude. It's funny because people are saying that like Twitter is going down and like the users are leaving, and it's like that's our most highest. That's where we have the highest number of followers at right now. I know with Instagram, it's been a little tricky. It's set at 27 like all week long. For some reason, like my tactics aren't working on Instagram just yet. But I did get better at marketing some of our other stuff with Instagram. I know with Instagram, it's kind of hard to include links. I think you can only link to other people's profiles. So I kind of have a new way of like making some like promotional graphic imaging that sort of gets the idea out, and then it sort of links them to other accounts like Medium, which is our publication on medium.com, sorry. And also YouTube, excuse me. So far for the articles this month, the articles that we've been publishing under the Vertical Bar Media publication have been read over 950 times. Fuck yeah. So I do have links to YouTube and all of our other channels and accounts at the end of each article. So hopefully once those numbers get back up, everybody will start going to our other accounts. I know like what 3 months ago I had over 30,000 views for 1 month. That was before we had Vertical Bar Media actually on the site. So
Hmm.
hopefully those numbers will go back up now that I'm back to writing again, pretty frequently, and then hopefully those people will come over to YouTube eventually. So I think on Threads, I say yeah, we had 63, Instagram 27, LinkedIn 75, Facebook 56, and Twitter 122. And I guess we'll get started on TikTok and Discord over the next few weeks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna
All
be
right.
really interesting because like we want to create all these different places to funnel in essentially users, and but I'm really interested. I don't think the analytics support this, but I would
Mhm.
like to see like what kind of overlap we have, because it's really kind of interesting on Vertical Bar Media. We get a lot of followers and likes, right?
Yeah.
Compared to Facebook. And it'll
Right.
be interesting to see how after like 6 months or a year, like what kind of content is actually being engaged with
Right.
versus those two mediums, right? Like maybe
Right.
the keyboard shortcuts nail really hard on Facebook, but everybody on LinkedIn likes our long form content, right? While YouTube is still running away with video game content. So that's going
I'm
to be
sorry.
interesting to.
I missed that last line. Repeat that. I'm sorry.
I said while YouTube is running away with video game content.
Right, which is why I'm excited for us to get back into video games. I can't wait to get a gaming laptop, dude. We're going to have a lot of content in the near future. I see a lot of. I'm gonna get back into Final Fantasy 14. I'm gonna get back into a lot of games. I have a couple of Star Wars games to play. Every time I play, I'm gonna record. So I'm glad that YouTube is very video game focused because I think we're gonna nail it in that category. And I think we're gonna build a pretty good following after that too. I guess for now
Ready
we
for
can.
Cyberpunk though.
I never played the first one. All I remember are the penises that were being displayed on social media when the first one came out,
Yeah,
or I guess when
you can get a
2017, whatever it's
dildo and
called.
beat people to death with it.
There you go.
But now in an update, you can like launch them into space with it. So
Cool. That's a
hopefully we can
very
do that on
interesting
our
game.
PlayStation Portal. You think you'll think you'd want something like that?
That was a beautiful transition. Yes, I used to own the original PSP, so I'm excited that Sony is getting back into mobile gaming. Now, this one is obviously a little bit different. This one's called
Yeah,
the
so
PlayStation.
as a PSP owner, how do you feel about this?
I think it's gonna be very nostalgic. I think it's gonna definitely give me like a good update and a good interpretation of the progress in mobile gaming. I know mobile gaming, most people don't really game on their phones. I know there's a market for it, but I think a lot of us serious gamers don't really do mobile gaming that much. So when it comes to putting a console in a
Serious
handheld,
gamers.
well, I know that that sounds bad. I guess a lot of us old timer games. I think the mobile gaming for like Android and iOS is more so for the younger generations. But I think more so for us who grew up on like PlayStation and N64 and the original Xbox, I think we're still kind of PC gamers. So like our handhelds are gonna be like more like the Switch, I guess, or things going forward, things that can do console like mechanics. So
Well,
I'm excited.
I
What's
mean,
up?
that's a really interesting point that you bring up because, all right, so that's it, it's the debate can go on forever, which is better, consoles or PCs, right? Like
Right.
everybody can debate this until the cold death of our sun,
It's PC,
basically.
obviously, but yes,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean it's obviously PC. We all know this. It's a PC master race. There's not an Xbox master race. There's not a PlayStation master race, but there is a PC master race.
Right.
So, but this is kind of interesting. So, a lot of the reason that people get into PC gaming, right, is because they want more customization, more control over the gaming experience, right? Whereas people that tend to dive heavily into PlayStation and Xbox generally do so because they want the ecosystem, right? They have friends that are playing there, they have
Right.
games that are familiar, they have money invested into the system, right? Like who's going to want to switch over to PlayStation if they're paying $14 or $15 a month for Game Pass and they have like a unlimited supply of games for the lifetime essentially. Um,
Right.
and it's really really interesting to me because it seems like PlayStation with this is trying to sell to people who want to play their PlayStation but may not necessarily have access to a TV or something like this. Like they
Hey,
want to be able to play on like a handheld device, right?
right.
Like maybe there's only one TV in the house and like
Hey,
dad
I
gets it
was
when he gets
just about to
home.
say that. I was trying to think of like ways you could have a PS5 and no TV, and then you nailed it. It's if you only have one TV in the house, and that's it,
Yeah,
right?
I
What if you're
that's
sharing a
actually true
room
for
with your
us.
brother?
We have one TV in our house. It's
There you
generally playing Coco Melon, right? So if you want to do something, you need to do it on your phone or you need to do it on your tablet, right? And
Right.
that's not too big of a problem for us because we have access to other devices. Um, yeah, so I feel like this fits into a great place, but it just kind of steps on the legacy of the PS Vita, honestly. And
It's
like
so cheap though,
what
199.
yeah,
It's
but you still have to
insane.
have a PlayStation.
I
So
know, but
that's
they
seven
totally
hundred
could have sold it
dollars.
for more than that.
That's
I
seven
know,
hundred
but to
dollars.
be able to I think it's cool because you get to walk around the house. I think that's so cool that I could like
I mean,
possibly
if
sit
your wife's
there.
if your Wi-Fi supports it, my phone, if I
Oh,
go to the
really?
bathroom, yeah, if I go to the bathroom, like my game usually restarts. Like
Shit.
for yeah, for live service games, like I don't know if you've ever tried to play on a mobile network, but like moving
No,
around
I
is
haven't.
not necessarily an option. Um,
Gotcha.
yeah, like I would hate to be playing like COD on a Steam Deck, right? Like that'd be pretty cool if you have it all tethered and wired up. But like you walk around the house, like you might lose connection really easily
Then
and like lose your game.
why does it work on a phone? Is it just because it's lower specs, lower download file? Is it using up less resources? Like, is it just like a slim down version of the console version?
What do you mean? I'm
Like
sorry, I
Call of
didn't
Duty
understand.
is available on the Play Store for Android phones, and those people can play with the players who have consoles, right?
I think Call of Duty Mobile is different than Call of
Oh, it
Duty.
is? maybe I
Yeah,
was
Modern
okay. I'm
Warfare.
sorry. Well, then maybe I don't play Call of Duty. I really haven't played since Warzone came out during COVID. I thought that was awesome, but I don't play the mobile version or any of the other versions. So maybe I'm mistaken. But yeah, no, I think at this point it's going to be possible to own more than one handheld. I see myself getting a PS5 despite being a PC gamer. I am a huge fan of Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, and I know those always come out on PlayStation before the PC versions come out. I think Final Fantasy VII Remake took like an extra 2 years to come out on PC, and I don't know if I can always wait that long for the current generation Final Fantasy games. So I see myself getting a PS5, and I also see myself wanting to be able to play those games around the house or wherever I am. I think it's cool. I do think it's kind of limited, but I don't think they necessarily want to compete with some of the other handheld gaming, I guess, projects or ventures. I don't think they want to compete with
Well, I don't.
Asus
I
just
think
yet. I think they want to build their own customer base and then release something later on that could potentially compete with like the Steam Deck or that Asus handheld thingy. Sorry.
so. I think that's actually wild because for the most part, right, the Steam Deck is completely out of left field. Like you, nobody knew that the Steam Deck was coming. Like people thought, oh,
Right.
Steam's making a new controller. Oh, Steam's making a new
Right.
console, right? Like they're developing something, but we don't know what they're developing. Asus kind of the same thing. They were developing something, but they didn't really know what they were developing until after the Steam Deck really hit its stride. And for what the Asus ROG Ally is incredible, right? It's more powerful than
Hmm.
the Steam Deck. Technically, the
Right.
battery probably lasts longer. The screen looks better. It's Windows based instead of Linux based. So it has a little bit more expandability and options and that kind of area. So it's a really incredible device and it's a really slim price.
Heck
And
yeah.
at the same time, both of these companies were developing this. PlayStation was developing this like handheld screen for their game, and
Right.
like you kind of missed the pooch. Like the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck are selling like hotcakes. Like they can't keep
Oh,
those
they are?
things
That's good to
on.
know.
Yeah, I mean I have a Steam Deck. I don't buy any tech.
Yeah, no. Well, I do think that maybe Sony is afraid that I know that people are buying them, but I don't know if there will be consistency in, I guess, how this area of the market is growing. Like I don't really know if people are going to be using these as their primary devices, and eventually people, I don't know, sales might slow up, and I think that Sony just kind of wants to sort of like dip their toe in it a little bit to first test the waters before they try to be like a true competitor, excuse me, in the mobile gaming industry. I do know that the
Well, see,
PS5
that's the
is
thing.
launching.
It's not mobile gaming. Like, see
Right,
that's
not
kind of the
yet, but they could
differentiation that I
later
get. Like,
on
right? Like, no,
release.
when we actually talk about mobile gaming, right? We're talking about
Right,
like Candy Crush, things that run on mobile operating systems like iOS and
gotcha. I see
Android,
what you
right?
mean.
Like
Gotcha. Okay.
Homeworld Mobile and Call of Duty Mobile, those are real games, right? But they're still mobile games.
Right.
They're cross-platform between Android and iOS, but you're not going to be playing Call of Duty Mobile with PC guys, right? You'll get wrecked day and night.
Hey,
Like,
that's how Fortnite is. Fortnite, man, I used to get on there on my PC and fucking and kick ass. I used to love that game, but I don't play
oh
anymore.
yeah, I was talking to my cousins about Fortnite, and it's like I asked them why they play it. It's like, oh yeah, because I can play it with anybody. I'm like,
Right.
that's what it really comes down to, and like
Right. Right.
that's kind of why I don't see Sony really making a big impact with this. Like, it
I don't
doesn't
think so either.
yeah, it
Not
doesn't
yet. But yeah.
really enable you to play with more people. It doesn't open up playing, right? It only opens up
Hmm.
playing for the individual,
Right.
like without access to a TV.
Which is interesting. Yeah, it's interesting who they're going after, and it's interesting to see what they're going to do afterwards. I just know that I was pissed off that the PSP. I never got the Vita. That was the one that I guess had no UMD tray, and you can download everything over the internet. Um,
Mhm.
I never had that one. So I do know that one had two joysticks though. That was kind of cool. So I'm just glad that Sony released it, is about to release something, and I'm glad that it's not that expensive. I'm definitely gonna buy it when the time comes, just to see how it works and how it's gonna be to play Final Fantasy, I guess, like on the toilet. That's kind of cool. Like, so I guess we'll see how that goes, and I'll go from there. But yeah, it's exciting to see how consoles are transitioning over to being handheld. It's cool. It's a market that I really didn't see coming back like this. I didn't know that PC games would be involved. I didn't know
Oh
that
yeah.
Asus would be involved. It's like
Well,
there's a couple of curveballs that are
honestly,
coming.
that was the only logical take, right? Like you have a company like
Right,
Nintendo with complete and vertical integration. You have a company like Sony with complete vertical integration, right? Like they were
right.
manufacturing the games, they have developers, they're manufacturing the hardware, like they're producing content, all that stuff. And they made the Vita and it didn't go anywhere, right?
Right. No, it
They
was
made the
horrible. Well,
Nintendo
I mean, from what
Switch
I remember,
and that was like a hit, right?
yeah,
But
the
that was a
Switch was
hit
a hit.
because dude, it's a hit for kids, right? Like I
Yeah,
mean, I have two cousins and they both have Switches.
I didn't know
Or
what
I have two
Nintendo would
nephews
do
and they
after the
both have
Wii, but they're
Switches,
killing
right?
it.
Like
Hmm.
that it's it's great. And I don't think Sony has that type of player base. Nintendo is obviously marketing towards kids, which
Right.
fantastically need mobile games because they're moving around a lot. Um, I don't see the demand as high for adults to have that kind of thing when other options exist, right? When other options didn't exist, people obviously bought a Switch. But hey, I can't browse the internet on it. I can't add apps to it. Oh man, the Steam Deck's looking kind of nice. Like I can do anything. Oh, this ROG Ally, like I can play super nice video games on it. I can put Windows on it. I can get all kinds of browser apps, all that kind of access. Of course, those are going to sell like hotcakes.
Well, I'm glad Steam fucking succeeded, and I'm glad that they didn't quit. Hey, whatever happened to Steam OS? Wasn't that a thing? Whatever
Yeah,
happened
that's
to that?
still that's the Steam Deck.
Oh shit, is that what they're using?
Yeah, so they should be
Oh, so which one
releasing
uses Windows? Is that the Asus one?
yeah, the
Sorry, I sound like
Asus.
an old man right now.
Is that the Asus one?
It's still being in fucking Georgia. That's why I'm talking like that. Sorry, everyone's getting to me. Yeah, no, but yeah, okay, cool. I remember. Oh, I'm thinking of Firefox OS. Firefox OS was canceled, but Steam OS is still a thing. Got it.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
caught up.
Steam OS they're releasing it sooner or later, who knows.
Cool.
With them. Gabe Newell will announce it from his altar.
What'd you say?
I said Gabe Newell will announce it from his altar under the sea.
All right. Well, I think I hear a sound cueing.
Indeed it has. Well, that's all the time we have for today on the Vertical Bar Podcast. As always, it's been a blast exploring technology with all of you.
Indeed, it has. And
Dude,
remember, folks, if you want,
you need to insert a page break before outro, so the outro is on its own page. Same
okay,
with it.
gotcha.
Same
I
with
saw that
intro and
you.
topic notes. I'm
Okay,
fixing
I
this
was
for you.
wondering why there was so much spacing between the sections. And I was like, what is he doing? And then I took it all out. So now I understand. It makes sense now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, and remember, folks, if you want to learn more about the topics we discussed, check out the description with links to our socials and our profiles and our channels of those socials. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast for more tech adventures.
Absolutely, Marcus. And we'd love to hear from you. Reach out with your questions, comments, ideas, or just to say hi. We're on all social media platforms as Vertical Bar Media.
We are, yes. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember the only constant in technology is change.
Nailed it.